A new UFO whistleblower has just come forward. His name is Jason Sands, and last night in a Twitter space, he told parts of his story. Now, what makes Jason Sands so important? He will be featured in the new James Fox UFO documentary that releases later this summer, titled The Program. I've got a lot of details, so let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. I put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And please hit that like button, vetters. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there. And of course, comment down below. What do you think of this breaking news? Let's dive in. All right. So again, this is crazy. I was getting messages last night. Hey, this guy is blowing the whistle. You got to come in and listen. But I couldn't. I was busy. And when I wake up this morning, all hell is breaking loose. I had another video planned for today, but this is the one we're doing because clearly this is more important. So, again, his name is Jason Sands. And there's no recording that I could find of his story. He did a Twitter space, but it wasn't being recorded. Some people tried to record it. They got other halves of it. So I am going to play a couple clips from his Twitter space last night, but his story is not there. But luckily, I know his story already. You see, I had been told about Jason Sands before, weeks ago, in fact, and that this was going to happen, that he was going to come out before James Fox's documentary, right? Because he's supposed to come out in that, but he decided to sort of blow the whistle early. So I've heard his story, and to be honest with you, there's a part of his story that I don't see out there, but I'm just going to tell it right here. So you're going to get some exclusive news about Jason Sands on Vetted right here. All right, so this is basically the deal real quick, okay? So this guy named Jason Sands, he was a contractor working for the government outside of Area 51, and one particular night, they're out and about. Now, this takes place sometime in the 90s, late 90s, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. Late 90s. And he heads out, right, with his team. They see a UFO crash. They get told to go check it out. They're on comms. And all of Jason Sands' other team members can't interact with this. They see an alien, a blue alien. He's blue, okay? And they can't interact with them. But for some reason, Jason has this telepathic connection with the alien, with the blue alien, right? And he's telling them, hey, Area 51, those guys are murderers, you know, don't go over there. You know, it's not good. They're not good people over at Area 51, right? Which is an interesting, like, he's giving them the you know, drama of the week. The alien is like, it's like The View. I don't know. It seems like an odd message to tell Jason Sands. But anyway, so telepathically, this blue alien is talking to Jason Sands and tells him that. Well, part of the story that I have not seen floating around is this. Apparently, what happens is Jason is told over the radio, because he's radioing back, you know, what's happening. He's apparently told over the radio to kill that alien. And he does. Jason Sands murders the blue alien and kills it. Now, what happened with the body, I don't know. But I do know that happened. Right? So again, to reiterate, Jason Sands, working as a contractor, ex-Air Force. Again, him and his team see a UFO crash. They go check it out. A blue alien comes out. Jason telepathically communicates with it. Then he's told by higher-ups over the radio to kill that being. And he does. The blue alien. And again, the alien told Jason, hey, the guys at Area 51 can't be trusted. They're murderers, whatever. Right, so maybe that's why they had him. And then he literally proves him right by killing him, right? Like, so that's interesting, right? So that's the story. Now, there's much more to it. Let's kind of go over some of the details of Jason Sands. Okay, so let me just play you a couple clips from Jason so you can kind of. This is his Twitter. Okay, doesn't have much going on here, clearly, right? But this is part of, his testimony. So let's just listen to it real quick. Hang on.
So craft, Texas, Central America, South America, Vietnam, and several other countries are retrieval site areas. The types of craft, it's like we discussed earlier, just, some of them were just drones with no biologics. Some did have biologics in them, that sort of thing. From the person that I had contact with and what I thought he was doing here, he felt like he was telepathic part of what he was communicating because he wasn't speaking English and I didn't know what language it was, but I could understand him perfectly. So we were sharing mind space, and apparently there was some kind of residue memory from him that when I was being interviewed, some people were able to bring that out of me. And he just mainly he seemed like he was here as a worker, part of the workforce that was interacting with program. Now, when you get back to the part of your question about, what interaction do they have in the program, the only parts of that I got exposed to was just the fact that they were helping in the labs under certain conditions that were highly, highly managed. And you could tell they did not want to do a free-for-all exchange of a technology at all. It seemed very, very controlled, like they didn't want to give anything dangerous to us at all. So hopefully that answers all the questions you had.
Part about the agreements. Have you heard of anything,
Oh, the agreements.
Yeah, NHI agreements.
Well, that's as far as I would say is that I know that if they're working in the labs, there had to be some kind of an agreement for them to do so, because I'm sure they had to barter back and forth as to what part they wanted to play, how much they wanted to give. So that all had to be part of an agreement of some sort. I also heard at one point that the Holloman thing did happen, and that again shows that there was some sort of interaction between our own president at the time and them. And I would imagine there was some kind of an agreement, either verbal or written or otherwise, that has been probably enacted ever since. So those are the only two things I could bona fidely say that yes, there is some form of agreement out there that if those two things that I heard are true, then yes, that there's at least evidence that I have heard that that's exactly what's going on. So craft.
So interesting. Okay, so these are just other details. He spoke for like 4 hours in this Twitter space, and he answered a lot of questions and whatnot. I can appreciate that he did that. So he's talking about, let's break this down. He's saying that he heard the Holloman Air Force Base video is real, and that the president found out about it during that time. There's some sort of agreement with these NHI, and that some of these NHI, they're just workers working in labs, helping out at Area 51, I guess, and maybe that's why they don't like them. But again, Jason Sands, murdered one of these aliens, told to, and just killed it in cold blood, essentially. I don't know how people are going to react to that part of the story. I don't know if they were saving that for the documentary. If they were, whoops, I don't know. I'm just telling what I was told about that. So, just find that interesting. There's a lot more interesting parts to this story. We're going to continue. Don't worry. All right, I got one more clip of Jason, and then we're going to round out all the different details about him.
I wanted to touch back on the NHI. That's the intriguing thing to me. So your encounter with the slightly tint blue being, what kind of color blue? Is it like the blue in the water in my picture? Was it a navy blue or royal blue? That's one question. The second question is, you alluded to the fact that there's multiple races. Obviously, there's one that you had direct contact with other than ours. How many would you say that you've come across in your time doing the intelligence work that, have stuck in your mind as far as how many races we're dealing with here?
So the number of races, to answer that part, I would say that I did hear at one point, it could have been a totally different council that I had heard, but a council of 12 was what I heard. Whether it was related to NHI or not, I don't know. As to the color blue, I would say he looked exactly like somebody that I would have thought was freezing half to death in the desert. So it's kind of like the same blue that you and I turn when we are really cold.
Clothing?
What?
So I'd say it was closer to like.
Who turns blue when they're cold? What are we talking about? I mean, that's like you're gonna die blue. I don't know. I don't think you turn blue when you get cold. That's like cartoon stuff. Right? Am I right? Am I wrong about that? I don't.
A sky blue undertone, maybe.
Gotcha. Sky blue. I'm just trying to picture what that would look like in my mind. Pretty
Yeah,
shocking. I assume that you see
yeah.
something like that.
Well,
Uniform?
yeah, he was in a BDU uniform, which led me to believe that he was actually working in the program before his craft got messed with. Maybe he had an altercation of some kind.
He's in standard military uniform, BDU. He's all blue. Interesting.
In with the program people, and they shot at his craft, and that's what broke it, and why he needed it to be repaired. And on top of that, the only two suppositions I have as to why he was wearing a uniform was number one, he might have been working with the program, and that's what they wear, or since the previous week, I knew that other people that I worked with had seen his craft on the range the week before. He may have been trapped there over the weekend, and perhaps one of the other people, because there's people that stay there over the weekend on the range, maybe they also gave him a set of uniforms or something like that because he looked strange or whatever, or he looked cold to them as well, and or maybe he was able to manufacture them himself. Might be a third option. I just don't know, but he was wearing a uniform.
So last question in regards to appearance. Eyebrows, hair, any facial features
No
aside
hair,
from
no eyebrows, no hair. Facial features, he looked like he was probably in his 50s or 60s, wrinkle wise on his forehead and neck area. They did look a little bit deeper than a person of 18 years old or whatever. So he did look like what we kind of look like when we're getting in our 50s or 60s. So the other features I've kind of already gone over. His nose was a bit big, and his eyes were definitely big, and his ears conformed to his head. Other than that, it was very much a human-looking head. His lips were a bit thin, but not out of the realm of normal, you know.
Gotcha. And any communication? Sorry, one last thing that's thrown in there. Like, did you have a chit
Well,
chat, or was it telepathy
it was
exchange or
both.
anything? Really?
His oral, he did speak orally to me, and it was in a language that the only thing that I thought came close was like Norwegian, and because it kind of had that kind of a lot of ooh and ah kind of a stuff in it, in what he was saying, but I didn't understand a word of it. But telepathic, definitely. I think the way I described it to others is that you and I can talk like even like right now. When I speak, the meaning of the words that I'm speaking, I don't even think about it. It's almost like a totally instinctive thing. But however, my brain has to attach the meaning to each word I'm using as I communicate to you. Likewise, when you receive that as a listening, or when you're listening to me, again, you can understand me perfectly because you are also attaching meaning at that really very quick speed. So when I think back as to the telepathic part of his communication and why I understood every word he said, it's because I was receiving the meaning of every word that came out of his mouth before he was speaking it, and likewise mine was to him. So,
Was it friendly? What did he say?
oh
Did it
yes,
seem like
very,
there was a
very,
good?
very civilized.
Real quick, so Jason, just to be clear, so I talked to Steve a few times yesterday, but he recounted an
Very civilized, and then you killed it. Again, that information is not out there, so I'm realizing that Vetted is the only place saying that. But that is what I heard about Jason Sands weeks ago. That's the full story. And I even heard the guy that gave him the order over the comms to kill potentially is also in James Fox documentary. And that guy's name may be coming out as well. So that's interesting. Just saying. Look, I'm going to put links in the description. You guys can check out all of this stuff. Right. Again, it's hours and hours of him in a Twitter space, like 3, 4, 5 hours or something. So it's obviously clearly too much to put in this video. So again, links in the description. Go check it out. This Spaced Out Radio, they have like an hour and a half into the Twitter space. Right. So the first hour and a half is not recorded, but the last half, some of the stuff we're hearing. So go check it out. That can be your Sunday hangout. But let's talk a little bit more about some of these details of him. I found this on Reddit, and this is a good breakdown of kind of some different things. One thing to keep in mind is Jason Sands is one of David Grush's whistleblowers. And David Grush got a lot of information from him, right, about his investigation, the program, agreements, right, these sort of things. Right. So this guy is confirmed as one of David Grush's 40 whistleblowers. So now you've got Carl Nell, Eric Davis, and Jason Sands, as at least that I know, that are confirmed of the 40. And Jason Sands he's a firsthand witness. These are the kind of people we wanted to come out and come forward, right? Now, I think this guy came forward earlier because there's just not a lot going on, and people want answers and want whistleblowers and want things happening. And I think, either he was told to come out or he came out and he's just, ready to make some waves, essentially. But his story is interesting. Okay. I got to admit, there's some red flags here. Okay. With his story. And I'll tell you the biggest red flag is one, this is not a red flag, but this is interesting. One of the things in that clip that we just played, you hear him say Council of 12. Now, I don't know if he's referring to the Majestic 12, but that is interesting. But the most important part, in my opinion, of the things that he said is he brought up something called 20 and back, right? Where you go serve 20 years on Mars and come back. Like you do a military space mission. Other people have claimed this same thing on Gaia. Corey Good, other people similar, talked about being the super soldiers that go on these missions for 20 years in space. 20 and back. Go do 20 and come back. Now, they have time travel technology, so you don't actually miss 20 years of your life. You come back right when they took you to go on this mission. They set you right back in that place, erase your memories, and you don't even know you went on it. If you do some therapy, you can shake out some of those memories, and that's how we've been told about it. And apparently that body that they send you back in 20 years in the past, to relive your life is a clone. So you're a clone. So potentially Jason Sands is a clone of himself. Right? I don't know. There's a lot of confusion if he really is part of that program or he just knows about that program. There's just a lot of things that don't add up about his story, in my opinion. But, hey, I'm going to hold my judgment and wait till more details come out. There's other parts of his story that he is going to reveal later. What else? I don't know. Right? Are we going to find out who gave him that order to kill the blue alien? And what did they do with the body afterwards? Do we still have that body? Is that what David Grush is speaking about when we said we have these dead NHI, right? And it's like Area 51 has been forgotten about, but apparently it has been doing stuff, right? Just like Bob Lazar said, right? Is this the same type of being that Bob Lazar potentially saw? But you figured he would have said blue, right? The blue thing is interesting, right? A blue alien, blue tinted. He looks cold. So they gave him a uniform. He's working in a lab, working with the program. So some of these NHI, they're just workers, everyday people, Joe Blow. They get a job working for the humans in a lab. They're treated wrong. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions. I don't know. He's telling a lot, though. People are eating this stuff up. His story is interesting. There's a lot of things he says that do, blend into other stories that are out there. I don't know. This is going to be, obviously, clearly, who you watching, right? You decide for yourself here. Jason Sands is going to be talked about for a long time to come now, right? He's in the lexicon of information now, along with David Grush. Jason Sands is a first-hand whistleblower, right? First-hand in the sense that he has had a close encounter of the third kind, straight up. And again, according to what I heard, he murdered under orders. Under direct orders, he kills this blue alien, which, again, he said it was being civil and nice to him. So, I don't know. I just think that's interesting. But let's go over some of this stuff in the Reddit real quick. But, yes, that 20 and back thing, that gives me pause. That's a huge red flag for me because all that stuff about Mars and going 20-year time. What? I don't know. Again, this is all kind of a lot to take in. So, at the end of the day, I am open-minded about it all. And I do curious to hear more from Jason Sands. And I will say, to his credit, he went into Twitter space. He answered any question that was thrown at him. He spoke very eloquently, very informative, very knowledgeable. I'll be honest, it did feel like just off-the-cuff knowledge he has. It didn't feel like he was just making stuff up, if that makes sense. Sometimes it did, but not for the most part. Maybe exaggerating some things, but for the most part, it just felt like information he was just throwing out there, right, that he had and experienced. So, to his credit, right, it's very interesting, okay? This is, again, we're going to be talking about this for months, definitely. And then, again, this guy is in the realm now. Jason Sands, remember that name. Okay. All right. So, yeah, let's go over some of the things here, right? This is his first time going public. Kind of odd. It's on a Twitter space. Agreed. But, I guess this is how you do it. He's been talking to a couple podcasters behind the scenes. It's how I found out about Jason Sands a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but... and I wasn't sure if he was going to come out. I wasn't going to out him unless he outed himself. And then I would talk about it. But I was not going to do that. And I didn't know if it was true. I heard that story. I was like, wait, what? So, I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so here we go. Just some different facts about, right? James Fox texted him during the space, so he knows Jason is coming forward tonight. So, again, he will be featured in James Fox documentary. I'm sure there's parts of his story he's leaving out that will be part of that documentary. Maybe the part that I'm telling y'all about him killing the alien. And I'm not saying there's anything good or bad about it. I don't know. If he's taking direct orders, I don't know. But he's describing the alien as being civil, nice, just a worker. Why just cold-blooded kill that thing? It seems odd to me, but I don't know. Says he's a first-hand whistleblower and is whistleblowing his first-hand knowledge of this phenomena. Any connection to classified programs needs to be discussed in a skiff. He is willing to publicly testify in hearings and has made this known to Congress. Says he has given testimony to the Senate and House each time he's spoken to them. There has been at least 7 individuals present. So he has told this story with a straight face under oath, right, to the Senate and the House. I guess under oath. Maybe they made him sign some documents, I'm sure. But, that's a lot, right? You're going and telling people with a straight face, looking them in the eye and telling them about this story. So that does says something. That does add to his credibility. He stood 3 feet from a blue-skinned humanoid. So he was right up on this thing, right? Crash retrieval programs are legit. Multiple craft in NHI, tangible, physical. Rumor is that the reptiles are the malevolent beings. So the reptiles are the bad ones. Again, there's multiple NHI, different species, races, if you want to call them that. Some NHI, non-human intelligence, seem benevolent enough. Some NHI tolerate us. Some NHI don't like us but aren't malicious. Some NHI help us, but only up to a point because we can't handle the power of the tech. He doesn't know much about the biologics. He personally wants people to know we aren't alone, but there is caution in letting people know that they are actively engaging humanity in ongoing contact because they don't know the full extent. So we have multiple non-human intelligence species interacting with humans on planet Earth. We apparently have some sort of agreements to work with them in labs, right? They want to help us. Some NHI don't like us, some don't mind us, some tolerate us, some are malevolent, trying to kill us, some just leave us alone, some want to help us, some, I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot of species here. Asked, when will you reveal the name of the programs? When will this be public? Answer, I would say it would occur when the Fight Club of Whistleblowers is finally able to meet and piece this all together amongst ourselves. That's interesting. I only have a piece of the puzzle, and I'm sure others have other pieces. Grush has a better handle on what a lot of others have to say, and he has spoken to others who are part of different parts of the program. Okay, so it's been stovepipe, right? Compartmentalized. I've got a puzzle piece. You've got a puzzle piece, right? Let's all come together, and we can maybe figure out what's going on. Yeah, what is the name of the program? Is it Kona Blue? I know it said it got declined, but did it really? Right? Not declined, but it got rejected, right? When in the program, would get called in on a Friday evening at X hour, for example. So again, Jason Sands is in the program, right? That's how he comes upon this being. And so when in the program, will get called in on a Friday evening at X hour, for example, would have to leave for 2 weeks and couldn't tell anybody. Had to cover with his bosses, higher ups, who when asked, where's Jason, would say, don't worry about it. He's doing some work for me. Okay. So he didn't have any friends or family, I guess. Jason doesn't have any friends or family. Asked about NHI agreements, cooperative efforts between human and NHI, any of these efforts taking place in ocean or underground bases, answers in the affirmative. He has been in underground facilities himself, but not underwater. Okay. There we go. Skeptical question about whether Aero, Congress, ICIG has verified Jason's claims. Sure. They can verify who you are, but how can they have vetted your claims? Skeptical about the method of coming forward through a documentary. Jason's response. Everything that Jason has told them in a classified environment, he feels they've done a disservice with. If they went to the locations suggested in his testimony, and even if they took Jason with them, then they would have all of the info that they need. There's another part of this besides simply a documentary that is legal in nature and is currently classified. Jason is asked if NHI was approved by DOPSR, or is Jason going around DOPSR? Answer, no. Jason went through DOPSR. The program name is classified. NHI fact of is not classified. So it's not classified that we're working with NHI. Why wouldn't they classify that? That doesn't make any sense. But the name of the program is classified. So Jason is going through DOPSR, right, to have his story reviewed so he can come out. That's interesting. That's very interesting. NHI fact of is not classified. So the fact that we have NHI, that is not classified, so you can talk about that. Wouldn't that program be classified? How can he talk about even being in the program if it's classified? Right? Clearly, that would be a classified program. So that doesn't make sense. That's a red flag right there, right? That doesn't make sense. That must mean that program isn't classified. Even if it's off the book, is that what they're saying? Like, well, it's off the books. How can it be classified as off the books? It's so classified, it's not classified. It's beyond classification. Is that maybe the thought? I guess that's possible. Look, I don't know. All I know is this is an interesting story. Right? Jason Sands, again, whistleblower, had an experience out in the desert, part of the UFO program, comes upon a blue humanoid that crashed, interacts with it telepathically, and then is ordered to shoot it and kill it. And I can tell that everything I'm reading, everything I read this morning, I don't see anybody mentioning that. Nobody's talking about the fact that he killed the alien. So I guess he's saving that for later. Maybe that's part of the documentary part. Maybe, first he'll tell this part and then see how people respond. Because I think there are going to be some people who are upset of why would you just kill this alien? Right? So I don't know. And how do you verify it's dead? You check its pulse. Again, what happened to the body afterwards? That must mean we have the body. All right. Now, what is interesting is the part about the testimony, like, take Jason to these places he's saying. I think that's a great idea. Right? He's in the Senate and the House telling the story. You know what? Let's jump on a plane. Let's go to this place. Show us. Take us. I mean, if he's willing to do that, that's interesting, right? I think David Grush should do the same thing. David Grush should, take a field trip. Let's take a field trip and let's go to all these places. Have David Grush lead the field trip. But again, Jason Sands is one of David Grush's whistleblowers. So it sounds like David Grush may hold all the keys to this castle in the sense that he has gotten all the stories from everybody, all the different puzzle pieces. And David Grush has the full puzzle for the most part. All right, because he's able to talk to all these whistleblowers who are compartmentalized and don't talk to each other. But David Grush is the unifying, they all headquarters, right? They've all come to David Grush. So David Grush has the full story, and that's how he's spouting off a lot of these things. And he probably, some of them overlapped, but they don't know each other. So how could they overlap, right? The stories. So to him, that probably seems more believable, right? He's telling me X. He's telling me X. They don't even know each other. X is probably true. I don't know. All I know is Jason Sands is one of David Grush's whistleblowers, and we're going to be talking about him for a minute. So the comments are going to be crazy today. I don't know. All right, they're going to get crazy. Yeah, wow. Okay. What a week this is going to be, y'all. What a week this is going to be. All right, y'all. If you're new to the channel and you haven't yet checked out our Discord, please go do that. We always have great conversations, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about this in our Discord. Link is in the description. It's free to join. It just continues the conversation outside of YouTube if you really want to dive deep with other vetters. And honestly, everything is talked about, UFO related in there. There's all kinds of channels, and people are having all kinds of discussions about everything, not just vetted stuff. Okay, I allow all kinds of conversations in there, all different channels, creators. So we talk about a lot of different people in there who we support and different, just everything. Just there to talk about the topic, not so much vetted at all, right? But anyway, So we'll see who else talks about Jason's story, the part of him ending the life of this alien. Let's see what happens. That spreads around. All right, y'all. This is a crazy video, right? All right. See you tomorrow. I don't know what video it is tomorrow. I'm kind of thrown off. I guess the video I was going to do today for tomorrow. We'll see. All right, y'all. Remember, every day's a gift. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.